What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today I have the pro tier list. If you haven't been following my tier list recently, I swap off. So last time we did a solo queue tier list a couple weeks ago. I still think it's semi good to look at, and today we're gonna be doing the pro tier list. So there's been a lot of exciting changes. First off, there's 2 new items coming soon if you haven't seen the news, and these are tank items. As the best defender in the world, I'm very excited. And there was a patch called Celestial Rumble Part 2. So they changed a lot of stuff with the map with Groudon that we'll get into, and they changed a couple of Pokemon. So they buffed Cinderace, they buffed Lucario. I'm assuming getting ready for Mega Lucario. That has also arrived to the game. So since I last made my tier list, Empoleon and Mega Lucario are in the game now, so that's pretty exciting. And they buffed Dragon Breath on Dragapult, not a very big buff. I have been seeing the Dragon Breath specifically doing a lot more, but just not a big buff to Dragapult overall. It needs a lot more love to be competitively viable. And they made a huge rework to Zoroark. So they basically cut the better move. They hard nerfed Shadow Claw, and they made kind of a movement input thing for the Night Slash. I'm not sure exactly what this means, but yeah. And then this was basically a pretty big buff to Mew, but it reduced how good it was early game, so it made it more late game instead of early game Pokemon. And then Palmot got a lot of buffs because it was pretty underwhelming. That was the most recent Pokemon to be added to. And then Absol got a pretty big nerf. I'd say these are pretty big nerfs, but overall I don't think it hurt Absol too much. Comfey got nerfs, which I always love to see. I think when Comfey is really good in the game, it's pretty cancer for solo queue. And then Umbreon got nerfs. This was sad to see as a defender main, but I think Umbreon was feeling really strong, so it makes sense. I still think it feels pretty good even after these nerfs. And then Surlage got nerfed. This one was out of left field. Surlage was not very good in competitive. I just think they did this because it was so good in solo queue. Aegislash got nerfs. Unfortunate for Aegislash. I don't even think it was that good. And they did have an emergency nerf for Empoleon when it first came out, if you guys didn't see. So yeah. And then I didn't see the Groudon changes exactly there, but I have them right here, or the map changes. So they adjusted the goal zone points, and they adjusted how much Dragon Groudon does basically, and they adjusted Regidrago's behavior when it first spawned. So that's, before we get into the tier list, I also wanted to briefly look at win rates for you guys. Now when I do a competitive tier list, you look at these win rates a lot less than you do for solo queue. For solo queue, these win rates are really helpful, but for competitive, like, these top 10 Pokemon aren't necessarily going to be in the top 10. So some interesting outliers is Empoleon has a close to 57% win rate, so this is insanely broken. Lucario just came out, so I think you could see it having a higher win rate too than this. I also think it's very based on its Mega, how good it is, so it's a little more situational. And then Dodrio is 3rd in win rate, which doesn't surprise me. Urshi. These ones are kind of regular. An outlier though in the top 10 is Dragonite. I did not expect Dragonite to be up here. Gengar is also up very high in the win rate. So yeah. Oh, Greedent is really high up too. I did not expect that. But yeah, let us finally hop into the tier list without further ado. So I have Mega Lucario here. Hold on. Let me fix this. Okay. Alright, there we go. So I have Mega Lucario and Empoleon up here. So the first thing I want to note with my tier list that's going to be different from my past tier list is you're going to see a lot of Pokemon are kind of grouped together. So you see, like, there's 3 defenders here, and there's like 3 supporters together, or 4 supporters together. Suicune is an all-rounder, but in competitive, in tournaments, it is technically a supporter. That is its most played role. You'll see there's 5 all-rounders in a row here. And basically what this means, guys, is these Pokemon, they fulfill certain roles in competitive that are really strong. So like, for example, all of these 5 all-rounders are top laners. And now they do different things. These 2 are scaling top laners. These 3 are early game top laners. But basically in every draft, you're going to want to pick one of these 5. And that's why these are far up. You're going to want to pick them basically early on, depending on which one would fit your draft. But they're all very good. But the thing is, you only pick one of them, so that's why these are all grouped together. So like, for example, Hoopa, Suicune, Blissey, Clefable, I think all the supports are very good right now. You're not gonna, like, if you pick like Clefable and they have Hoopa, you're not gonna feel like the biggest, like, you really needed Hoopa that game. Like, Clefable's still a very good support, but they're all just very good, and that's why they're grouped together. You just want one of them. So it's similar for Empoleon and Mega Lucario. So usually I have these Pokemon in the same tier, like above like the first pick prio. I have like a god tier for the best Pokemon in the game, and that is Mega Lucario and Empoleon. I think they're the best Pokemon by far in the game. Now, I don't think they're strong enough to warrant their own tier. So for once the strongest Pokemon in the game, I don't think they deserve their own tier. I think they're decently strong, but I don't think they're so overwhelmingly broken right now that they need to be put in a god tier, which is good. I think the balance of them is decent right now. Obviously, they're a little broken, but I just think like they're not like so unplayable against that. They need their own tier, right? So we have the supports here next. I think all of these supports are very good. Maybe Clefable is a little worse than the rest of these three supports, but they're all very good in their own rights. And then Dodrio, I just think Dodrio is really good on this new map, especially with the Groudon buff. You can single-handedly win games with Dodrio just because it has that factor of scoring and stuff. Now, Blue Urshi has fallen down a bit. I think hasn't received any changes, but since my last tier list, I think it's fallen down quite a bit. And that's just because I think like these Pokemon just beat Blue Urshifu, so there's been all-rounders introduced, melees introduced that just beat it. And then I have the three tanks here. So this one's going to be like the first like kind of unpopular opinion for my tier list, I believe. And that is me not having Snorlax as the best tank. Now again, remember what I said where I think the tanks are interchangeable. So Snorlax could technically be put above these. I just think you pick one of these three. But I think they all have different strengths. And honestly, you don't really want to like first pick Snorlax now anymore. I think they each do their own things. Like sometimes Crustle is going to be way better than Snorlax. Sometimes Snorlax will be better. And sometimes Umbreon will be the best out of the three too. So it just depends on the draft. And I think they're all pretty strong right now. And then now I have the all-rounders next. In the tier below, I think these all-rounders are really strong, don't get me wrong. But this is the first pick priority. So in draft, what do you want to like get right away? So a lot of the supports and like tanks end up getting banned out, so you're gonna have to end up like first pick prioing them. And I think these Pokemon, these three Pokemon here, are so strong that you always want to kind of like prioritize them in draft. Now these Pokemon, there's so many alternatives. You don't like really need these strong Pokemon in the draft, so there's so many alternatives that I don't think you need to prioritize them. But when they are picked, if they're picked in a good draft, they are very, very strong. And so you have the all-rounders here. I think these three attackers are very strong, but a little less strong than these all-rounders, right? So that's why they're a little lower. I think Mew feels very, very strong right now, but Raichu and Rhydon are also very, very strong as well. And these are all kind of good early game, good late game attackers, so I think they're very well-rounded for competitive. And then these three speedsters, again, it's interchangeable. You could put Scyther above the rest of the two. You could put Leafeon first. But I think they're all just very strong. They fulfill similar roles of having that early game speedster to help take over the game. I think they're all very strong right now. And yeah, on the A tier, these Pokemon are kind of Pokemon that are very, very strong, but they have kind of weaknesses in their gameplay. So like, for example, Delphox, probably the strongest late game Pokemon in the game, but its early game is very weak, right? I'd say the same for Venusaur. It's very, very strong late game, but its early game is a little weaker. Darkrai, I think, is so strong. It's so underrated. Every time I do these tier lists, people are like, oh, you have Darkrai so high. I think Darkrai is heavily underrated, even by pros right now. Its one weakness is it cannot flip objectives. It is very bad at hitting objectives down and like securing, obviously, and that's its one weakness. But everything else about its kit, I think, is very strong. And you'll see kind of some unique ones are Blastoise and Espeon up here. So Espeon is just really good early game, really solid secure for the early game as well. And I think it does well into a lot of the meta Pokemon right now. Like, for example, Empoleon and Lucario actually stand still for a lot of their abilities. And when Pokemon stand still, that's a free combo hit for Espeon, because that is a really hard skill shot to hit. So when Pokemon are meta that kind of stand still, like Suicune stands still too, it's going to be a lot easier to hit them, and so Espeon will be a lot better. Now Blastoise, just I think with the meta shifting to kind of the objectives are not as important, because Groudon is a little harder to flip than Rayquaza, and its buff is not as game winning as Rayquaza, right? You can still win after the enemy team gets the Groudon buff. I'm sure you guys have experienced this on the new season, where maybe even you got the Groudon buff and you lost. So because of that Blastoise being able to kind of hold the pads, you just sit on the pad and you AFK the whole game. And even if you're level 11 at the end of the game, you did your job well. You made sure the enemy team didn't get a point lead, didn't scale too much. And that's kind of what he is. He's a good neutralizer. And so when I think there's not like, when the objectives are not super overpowered, these Pokemon that are really good at holding the pad become a lot better. And so yeah, I have like the rest of the tanks here. There's 3 tanks like Trevenant, Mamoswine, and Ho-Oh. I think like these are all like, you can pick them depending on the enemy team comp. They're all going to be good situationally, but I do think these tanks are a lot worse than these 3 tanks. And then yeah, these all-rounders. I have Palmot here. Even after the buffs, I don't think it's like super strong, which is good. I like Palmot. It's a really well-rounded character. I like where it is right now after the buffs. I don't think it's too broken, and I don't think it's too bad. It's honestly like, this is the perfect middle ground for new Pokemon that come out. If this is how Palmot released, they did have to buff it, but this is how it released. I would have said it was a perfect release for a character, you know. And then after the Zoroark changes, I do still have it pretty up, just because the cut combo is still pretty good. So you can play cut plus feint attack. I still think that's probably the best moveset on Zoroark. Now the thing is, cut feint attack is not good with Comfey anymore. So I'm still not sure how competitively viable Zoro will be, because a big scary part about picking Zoro is they could go Comfey Zoro, but I think Comfey Zoro is a lot worse with cut feint attack. So we will see. Maybe he'll fall down in the rankings. But yeah, and then the other outlier is Sableye and Cinderace here. I think Sableye is super underrated on this new map. It's definitely really good in the right hands, but it takes a lot of brain power, a lot of games on Sableye to be able to play this well. Even like the team has to play around Sableye well, and that's why you don't see many Sableye succeed. But fun fact, if you didn't watch Worlds, we won with Sableye against Nouns Esports to make it to the semifinals. But yeah, and then Cinderace here, I think Cinderace is just solid. It's slowly been getting buffs and buffs and buffs. I swear, they've just been buffing it over the past couple years, and I think it's solid enough to put it in A tier now. I think all of its moves are pretty good, and it has a role in competitive, which is really good. And yeah, now Dragonite, they gave very small buffs. They gave small defense buffs, but I think people didn't realize at the time that like this helps Dragonite be able to flip better, right? So Dragonite is known as the flip objective Pokemon, and so if it's tankier and that directly scales with its passive multi-scale, it's gonna be able to flip objectives more, and it's gonna have a higher win rate. And this doesn't just work in solo queue, this also works in competitive. I have lost my fair share of Dragonites in scrims recently, so I think it actually has a place in competitive right now, which is good. I think it's in a fine spot. I hope they don't buff it anymore. But yeah, anything to go over here? I think I'll go over Latios, because it was at the very top and it fell down a lot, and yeah, the buffs just really hurt it, or the nerfs, I mean, especially because like the move that was good before, I forgot its name, but it was like a dash auto, and an attacker having a dash is really good. That's why, you know, like these Pokemon are so high up, right? Like Raichu has a dash with every attack, and Mew has dashes in its kit as well. That's why these are like the 2 best attackers right now. But yeah, Latios, the Draco Meteor moveset actually dishes out a lot of damage. Draco Meteor was not touched, but again, you have to stand still for that, and it doesn't even have like insanely good range, and so that moveset is just going to be inherently way worse than the other moveset and would need to be buffed for Latios to be good again. But yeah, I'm just not the biggest fan of Latios anymore. Charizard also fell down a lot. Charizard is just a mon that I think like its kit is like, it's either like the best Pokemon in the game, like top 3 Pokemon in the game, or it's going to be in the bottom half of the game. And that's just how its kit is with like its Unite move. It either kills everything with its Unite move, and it's really strong and cancer to deal with, or it's not, you know. And then yeah, poor Surledge got nerfed into the ground basically. I don't think this thing is viable at all anymore, unfortunately. I don't know, like I don't think it needed to be hit with like the nerf hammer, but yeah, maybe the dev saw something I didn't. And then Mewtwo also fell down a lot. So if you aren't aware, I'll say it again, I think I said in my last tier list, they have nerfed the attack speed on Mewtwo. It is now set, it is now capped. So before, Mewtwo was really strong and competitive because you'd run Scarf and Muscle Band on the Pokemon, and you would shoot out like a Gatling gun. You had the fastest auto attacks in the game. It was really fun to play too. So I really dislike that they changed that part of Mewtwo. I think it was so fun. So fun to watch in competitive, made like amazingly good clips and stuff. Like I really do not think they should have changed this part of Mewtwo. So I really hope they revert this change. I do not like it at all. But because of that change, Mewtwo is completely killed. It does not do the same things it did before. And yeah, now I have the C tier. Now these Pokemon, I would not recommend playing in solo queue, but hey, if you have like 20,000 games on them and you're really good at them, maybe it could work. Dragapult did just get buffed, so I will say I do think Dragapult is more competitively viable than these Pokemon below it. And last but not least is F tier, and these are the only two Pokemon I never want to be seen played in competitive. I would never want my team to play these two Pokemon, and it is Goodra and Greedent. Now, keep in mind, the new items are coming out, and those new items might be pretty good for Goodra. But until then, I think these Pokemon are completely abysmal in competitive, should never be played. Their kits are just not good for competitive, just not good Pokemon right now in competitive. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. It was short and sweet. I'm really busy, so I know in my last video I said I wanted to pump out content, but basically there's a lot of things happening with the new season that are really exciting. I hope to have like an org announcement for you guys soon, and like a team announcement. Yes, I'm planning to hard grind and try to win worlds again, but really exciting stuff is happening. It just has me really busy, and there's a lot of like paperwork and like groundwork to do too. So I'm actually flying like later this week over to do like a bunch of business stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys will bear with me. I'll try to pump out tier list videos because these are pretty easy, short and sweet to make, and I hope you guys enjoy them and have a great day.